Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Today it is the 10th of April, 2022. It is Sunday. We're here to recap the last three games of the Washington Nationals weekend series against the New York Mets. The Nats salvaged the final game thanks to some late inning heroics from both Lucius Fox and Nelson Cruz. We'll get to that and a whole lot more from the weekend. But first, today's show is brought to you all by BetOnline and BetOnline.net. More from them later. Breakdowns coming for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's games between the Mets and the Nats. It's coming up next on today's show.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, hello everybody, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LO_Nationals. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. Find the show wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Apologies, still dealing with the allergies right now, so I sound a bit under the weather, but I'm all good. Traveling this weekend, so I wasn't able to do as much stuff between games. But we had a show on Friday recapping what happened on opening day. Let's take care of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and let's go in reverse orders. We can do the most recent stuff that happened first. The Nationals, they've got a lot of problems. They got a lot of things they have to look at this season. We knew they wouldn't be a great team, but they have a lot of problems they have to fix. We know this coming out of the chute. But the good news is the Nationals did salvage one game of a 4-game set with the New York Mets. They won today's Sunday finale 4-2. And things were really stagnant in the beginning of the game for them. But they scored 3 runs in the 8th inning to take a 2-run lead. And then Tanner Rainey got the job done in the 9th, and the Nats took care of business. This is why the Nationals were successful today. Number one, the pitching. Eric Fetty was the first pitcher the Nats had all weekend to complete 5 innings. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 5 Ks. Good start for him. I thought it was a very strong start through 87 pitches. He started to waver in the same spot that a lot of the other Nationals pitchers had wavered, right? We saw him, in that 4th inning area through 30 pitches, the 4th or the 5th through 30 pitches, and, ends up being able to, hold down the damage. Well, the rest of the way, the Nationals were flawless. The next 4 innings, Steve Cishek, our old friend Sean Doolittle, Kyle Finnegan, and Tanner Rainey. And each of these guys represent something different. Cishek is a new guy, obviously. Doolittle, in a sense, is a new guy, but, we've seen him before. But newer to this bullpen, at least. And Finnegan and Rainey get the job done, and those 2 guys are 2 guys that are holdovers that we're interested to see, hey, what is their positioning going to be in this year's bullpen? Now, Will Harris is not there yet with the Nationals, still recovering from an injury. And then, obviously, Mason Thompson hits the 10-day IL. We'll mention that tomorrow night, about last night's game later on in the show. But for right now, this was a really strong effort. And, you get the guys going 4 Ks, just 2 hits in 4 innings of work. This lineup has done a pretty good job the last couple of days of the New York Mets. So I thought that was pretty impressive from that perspective. I think the bullpen getting the job done today is something that we need to, not sure how many times we're going to say that moving forward, but also it was the first time they were put in a better position than they have been all weekend, right? They were called in to spell pitchers who were not getting the job done in the first few days, and that was a huge part of it. And then in the 8th inning, good, patient at-bats, against guys that, like Jason Shreve, who was left in a little bit too long. I actually thought they should have pulled him after he gets out Soto. I know they wanted to get him some work. I actually heard part of the Mets broadcast on the radio. I heard them saying, hey, look, they want to get Shreve and Williams, the 2 guys who ended the game, work. The only 2 guys who had not gotten work for the Mets all weekend. They wanted to get them work. Well, Shreve thought they should have pulled him after he gets Soto out. That was a good spot for him. Then Trevor Williams comes in, and he struggles as well. And so this gets perpetuated. The scoring does by an error. Lucius Fox with the squeeze. Great day for him, man. Had the great defensive play at shortstop and then has this just spark plug of a play with the sacrifice where he moves the runners over, out executing the Mets to tie the game. And then there's runners on second and third. What you have to do in that situation is with Juan Soto coming up. I saw people saying, "Oh, pitch, you don't pitch Soto there." Nelson Cruz makes him pay. Nelson Cruz hits the ball up the middle. He's had a rough start to the series, I've thought. And then comes through as things went on today and goes 2 for 3 today, has the home run and has the 2 RBIs later on in the game that end up sealing this thing. So timely offense, not good offense. The Nats scored 4 runs on 5 hits today. It was not consistent despite the fact the pitching finally gave them a good effort. And this is going to be the story all year. I mean, I've been saying coming into the season, I think the offense should still be decent. And we've seen that throughout the weekend. Like Bell, Cruz, and Soto have all had their moments. What made last year's mid-June Nats team so good was Soto, Kyle Schwarber, and Trey Turner all having their moments simultaneously in the game, right? One built off the next. If the Nats want to continue having good offense or offense that resemble what they had in that last inning, they have to get that going they have to get those 3 going. So we've seen all 3 of them separate make stuff happen, but they have to do it all together if the Nats want to be competitive. That's what we're going to be kind of looking at, talking about, thinking about as we move forward here. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's go to Saturday's game. But first, quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. Go to BetOnline and betonline.net today. You guys will find odds for Major League Baseball, the NBA playoffs coming up. They have NFL draft odds, F1, NASCAR, UFC, boxing, all of which took place over the course of the weekend. You can bet on all of it at BetOnline and betonline.net today. It's your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to esports and more. Head to the website on your mobile device or your laptop today, or whatever you got. iPod Touch, device connection, as long as you're 21 or over, you'll be good to go. Bet Online, it's where the game starts. All right, so I'm going to touch on the pen here in 1 second as we get through the rest of the games, because Tanner Rainey was really good today, and so was Kyle Finnegan. Last night for the Nationals, 5-0 loss. And we saw Yuan Adon get through, a pretty good start. Like the first 4 innings were good, and then they just really got to him. And one thing the broadcast mentioned, Bob, and I thought Kevin Franzen, who's been killing it so far, he mentioned how Chris Bassett, who had 6 Ks and had 6 innings, 3 hits, and no run, or 8 Ks, excuse me, and didn't give up a run, only allowed 3 hits, has 6 pitches, and he's 33 years old and knows how to use all of them effectively, right? We go over to Adon, who's only got 3 pitches, and he's 23 years old, excuse me. And so he's using all those pitches from the start. So when you hit that lineup, third time through, against those experienced guys, they're going to get you. And that front part of the Mets lineup got them, and especially, they all got on base, and Pete Alonso drove them in. So I thought there was some encouraging signs from Juan Adon. And 4 1/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 Ks. So kind of a mixed bag for him, but I don't think the numbers totally tell the story in terms of, just the raw numbers. If you look at the progression and how it happened, and look at kind of how it happened the first few days, things got worse as the game went along. That's where they were. And so 5+ innings, from the bullpen, or excuse me, 4 2/3 from the bullpen. Both Finnegan, Rainey, Thompson, Machado, all out there for, and all those guys made more than 1 appearance so far this weekend. So, the Nationals, they dug into their bullpen a really good amount this weekend, because Eric Fetty was the only guy who made it through 5 full, and he only went 5 full. And the news came down that no Anibal Sanchez in the first game of the series against against the Braves, because he's got the neck issue still bothering him. So the Nationals are going to have to navigate that. This is already difficult for them. And this is why I'd mentioned the offseason. They should have built up more starting pitching depth. They should have gotten another veteran arm. They should have been in the market for another guy that could have helped them. Not somebody like an Anibal Sanchez, who's just coming back. When you've got Ross and Strasburg on the shelf, you need to find somebody else. Now, I know that they think, okay, we'll integrate those guys back into the rotation and everything's going to be fine. But, you're going to, we don't trust these guys yet. Like Josiah Gray, hard to trust. Patrick Corbin's not back yet. Adon's a new guy. Sanchez has not pitched the majors, missed all of last season because, he wasn't good enough and had to take a year off and to come back. So, Fetty's a guy who's had a lot of his questions. Even Joe Ross, who I thought had a really good year last year, we have questions about him too, and Steven Strasburg's injured. So, there's no guy in this lineup every 5 days that's a sure thing in terms of like, okay, I know what I'm getting effort-wise and consistency-wise. I know I'm getting, a Max Scherzer who can pitch poorly and then, rebound from that. Like, I think they can get Corbin back there. I think Joe Ross can get there. I think, at some point Josiah Gray can get there, but nobody's at that point yet. And that's going to tax your bullpen. 100% is going to tax your bullpen. And that's the one thing that killed the Nationals last year, and it's already hurting the Nationals this year, is how much they dug into the bullpen. Now, I will say this, really good stuff so far from both Kyle Finnegan and Tanner Rainey. And Tanner Rainey, at this point, I know he pitched yesterday, middle of the game, but they gave him the ninth today. Thought that was significant. That's a guy that struggled so much last year and came in the ninth. Mark Canha gets on base against everybody, so it's okay that he gets on and then gets two big outs. He did a good job there working to the rest of the inning and getting the job done. So Tanner Rainey, build that confidence up, and hopefully you can be that ninth inning guy for them. The tough thing from yesterday's game with the bicep injury to Mason Thompson, threw two balls in the third one, just totally lost control. Did not look like the guy that we've seen recently, and that's tough already for the Nationals to not have Anibal Sanchez in the rotation and not have Mason Thompson, who's a young guy who they need to get evaluated. But obviously, want to make sure he's good first. But that's a guy I wanted to see in the back end of the rotation. Hopefully, it's nothing major for Mason Thompson. So that's what happened in the Saturday game. Now let's take our attention to Friday's contest. Nationals, Mets, Max Scherzer return. This highlighted something. I'm not sure if it was the weather. I'm not sure what the situation was. The crowds were really poor this weekend. You saw it today on TV. 62% for Max Scherzer's return, the best pitcher in new franchise history, I should say. A Hall of Famer, part of the World Championship winning team. And because it was cold, you only get 25,677 out, 62%. Last night, Saturday night, 21,369. Then I have not gotten an attendance number on today. Let me go and check the Gamecast from ESPN to get that number for you all, but it did not look very good. It was 23,158. So higher attendance today, the day game, the night game last night, 56% attendance. Opening weekends, usually we can get everybody in the ballpark. That and kind of when the spring boon happens and the weather is nice, right? And division rivals are in town, the Braves are in town, Mets are in town, Phillies are in town. You get the away fans coming as well. Yankees interleague series, Red Sox interleague series. That's usually when you can fill the ballpark. Not the case, man. And so that was kind of upsetting to see. Nats fans, we know y'all can pack it, so you got to get out there. Our guy, Matt Wyrick, covered the games, most of the time, was there as a fan today. So shout out to Matt for getting out there and getting after it. But that game that we saw, game 2 of the series, Max returning, great moment. And then obviously the light delay happened, which was really odd. But this was such a weird game because you have the light delay, you have Max Scherzer at Nats Park on the bump in a Mets jersey. And then you got Josiah Gray, who was one of the guys they traded for, in there. And K-Barrett Ruiz gets 2 hits. And so we'll talk about him more on tomorrow's show, especially too, about good things we saw from the weekend and kind of stuff moving forward. But, it was just all weird. And then the Lindor getting hit thing happens. So, Lindor gets hit and has to leave the game. And that happens in that one was in the top of the 5th. Lindor gets hit. So he gets hit. That's the third batter in the first 2 days. Second gets hit up near the head area. The Mets were not having any of it. And Steve Cishek really was took offense to it. Not sure if he meant to do it or not. I really don't think he did. But the Mets have a legit gripe getting hit in the upper body area, multiple times in 2 days. It's like, come on, like we got to be able to keep it away. And also, you didn't see that really happen the rest of the series. So I thought the Mets had a legit gripe. Cishek was red hot coming out of there. He was fired up and angry, and good thing Lindor was okay. Don't like to see it happen to anybody. Mets did not retaliate. I'm sure something happens down the line. It is baseball. I don't like how it works. That throwing a projectile at somebody is how you get back at someone. Don't think it should be how it works. But the Nationals, you can be angry at them for what they did. And this game, it was another one where the pitching did let them down on Friday night. I'm sorry if I'm saying Saturday, but Josiah Gray keeping the ball in the ballpark, 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, all earned 5 Ks on 80 pitches. That variety, and he's got to work on it. Now, once again, he's young, right? Just 24 years old. So this kid is a young guy, younger than I am. Just turned 25 recently. So young guy, and I've always said I think 30s, early 30s normally, if you're able to keep a semi-healthy arm, is kind of your pitching prime. This guy's way off what we consider his real prime. He's got a lot to learn, but he's got a lot to like. I think that's the two things that I have to say. And the Max Scherzer, typical Max Scherzer outing in this game. But the Nationals offense this weekend had a bunch of difficult games when it came to the hitting department. It just felt like for them that things were not always great. They left 3 guys on base, but really didn't have a whole lot going in that game. Against the Mets, a lot of these games, and the late offense came late, as I just mentioned. So we're going to take a look tomorrow as we look ahead to the Braves series and really evaluate like what went well this weekend for the Nationals hitting and what didn't, because I think you look at a few guys and you say Nelson Cruz, he's 3 for 16, but had 2 moments, right, in one game, helped them win the game. Juan's 3 for 14, but he has had moments as well. Josh Bell, great start, 4 for 13, 308, had moments as well. Then, Ruiz, moments, 4 guys, 4 for 11 right now. But then you go Franco, Escobar, Robles, Thomas. There's a bunch of guys who are over. Thomas, Robles, Escobar. Combine those guys together. Combine those guys together. 1 for 25 is what you get with those guys. Cesar Hernandez, rough start, 3 for 18 as well. And I'll take the 3 for 18, but you got to have, Nelson Cruz is 3 for 16. And so is Hernandez, not 3 for 18. But you got to have some impactful moments in there if you hit that poorly. Once again, small sample size, but there's a lot to digest, a lot to talk about there and those things. And we'll really dive into it tomorrow. But the story for me is it's amazing the Nats walked out of this series with a win, because they offensively were horrible for most of the series. Pitching, they didn't get in the 5th inning. It only got through it one time. Let's see. The Mets scored, 5, 7, 12. Doing quick math. 12, 17, 19 runs. And the Mets, the Mets scored 5, 12, 17, 19 runs. The Nationals scored 4, 5, 4. So the Nats end up scoring 13 runs in the series. So relatively close in terms of runs, but also in the end, the offense just wasn't very impressive at all. The offensive output in the end of the game today, once again, nice to see it, but 1-3-0-4, you could make an argument you should lose all of those games. You can make an argument you really should lose all of those games. So Nats are fortunate. I think this might be a sign for things to come this year. Hate to be that guy, but that's kind of how I'm feeling at this point. All right, quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to Built.com today. That's Built.com. Use promo code LOCK15, LOCKED15 for 15% off. You guys get 15% off on their new flavors such as mint brownie, coconut almond. It's the best tasting protein bar in the game today. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein right now at Built.com. Once again, Built.com, promo code LOCK15, LOCKED15, LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com today. All right, so coming up tomorrow, talk about Keibert Ruiz, really great start. The Nationals defense, really great start. And what the Nationals do can get this lineup going and then we'll just ask all the questions we have to ask about the pitching. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LO_Nationals. You guys can follow me at Josh Neighbors_ as well, personally. Find the show Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube now as well. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.